This is Jonathan Keller from California Family Council. Hope you're all doing well. We are back with a live video. It's actually been, I think, a couple weeks since we've done a live video. Lots of election-related things going on, but I'm excited to be joined in person in his studio by John Gerardi.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Jonathan.
Oh, absolutely.
John Gerardi, the Executive Director of Rights Life of Central California and the host of the John Gerardi Show on Power Talk 96.7 and AM 1400 in Fresno. So there you go.
So we are here at your office. We did not purposely coordinate our tops.
I mean, you did
shirts.
call me this morning.
I
and
did.
Said, what are you wearing?
What are you wearing?
What are you wearing? Anyway, no, we did not coordinate.
We are wearing different colored pants. I assure you.
There we go.
And we are both wearing pants.
Both wearing pants.
That's
not a Jeffrey Toobin situation. Here.
You can never be too careful these days, John.
Yeah.
So
there you go.
That's why I prefer to do these meetings face to face, because you don't have to worry about Zoom, and it's just
it's all out in the open.
Yes.
No, nothing can happen behind closed doors.
It's on the up and up.
On the up and up. There you go.
So
anyway,
we wanted to talk briefly about the title here. It says Justice Amy Coney Barrett.
Justice Amy Coney Barrett. There we go.
And I had multiple times Freudian slip accidentally called her that, although she was previously Judge Amy Coney Barrett. John, I got to be honest with you. Even though we are recording this here on Thursday afternoon, I still don't think it's quite sunk in, actually, that she's
on the court, and there's a 6-3, possibly, or at least there's a 6-3 Republican appointee majority on the court.
Yes.
So you can take that for what it's worth.
It's just, I think because we were all expecting that it was going to be so contentious. I remember there was a lot of discussion after Anthony Kennedy resigned 2.5 years ago. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. It's going to be so intense. Wow, this is this swing vote. And at the time, even before all of the allegations against Brett Kavanaugh came out, I remember there was the discussion, can you imagine what's going to happen when Ruth Bader Ginsburg either dies or retires? It's going to be thermonuclear war.
Right.
And
it wasn't that bad.
Kind of remarkably, it was a relatively peaceful, respectful hearing. I mean...
Well, it's a thing. If you don't have the votes and you don't have anything, you don't have the ability to launch any kind of serious attack on the nominee. I mean, you couldn't even find someone to come forward and say, Amy Coney Barrett, pushed me during gym class and I broke my arm.
That's right.
In high school.
Yep.
Amy Coney Barrett, one time she, pulled a chair out from under me as I was trying to sit down.
She cut in line
grade.
at the lunch counter.
She cut in line in second grade. They couldn't find anyone to say anything.
Yep.
I mean, all they could say was that she's too religious, which the senators couldn't say that because it immediately invokes the whole religious test thing, and Senator Graham wasn't going to allow that during the Judiciary Committee.
Which, by the way, a lot of people don't realize there's a lot of discussion, John, about the First Amendment and the fact that, don't you understand? It's supposed to be separation of church and state, and you can't
a line that's not in the First Amendment.
Yeah, yes, that's true.
Yes.
But there's this idea of, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion. And they use this establishment clause to say, well, this means that if you have any sort of distasteful religious beliefs, that we, the prevailing
that might
secular majority,
that might influence your public policy in any way. That's the key. Yeah.
We are going to choose to raise these and make it the specter of evil hanging over you.
Right.
But what many people forget, and it was a good reminder, I think, for the country, was that before the First Amendment, before the Bill of Rights, there's actually a little thing called Article 6 of the Constitution.
The no religious test clause. Yeah.
Literally, it says that no religious test shall be required for an office in the United States.
Right.
And that includes both saying, well, you can only be a Baptist, you must be a Baptist, or you can't be a Catholic. But it also includes, just generally speaking, you're not supposed to use...
You can't be religious, yeah.
Yeah, you're not allowed. Before they even decided that they were going to pass the Bill of Rights and, the First Amendment and all its protections, the Second Amendment, certainly the 14th Amendment,
the Constitution itself.
Everything else. I mean, before women even had the right to vote, our founders saw a situation in which any person, male or female, who's appointed to the Supreme Court could not be denied that seat because of their faith.
Exactly. So, when you don't have any substantive arguments other than we don't like her politics and we don't like her judicial philosophy and she's going to make the court too conservative, and you also don't have the votes to stop it, and your only argument is a procedural one that it's too close to Election Day, guess what? There's really not much you can do. You can stomp your foot, but that's it. I mean,
Yep.
And they couldn't find what they had with Kavanaugh. They couldn't find someone willing to come out and accuse her of rape or something like that.
You know, John, it really does make me wonder, and I hate to be so cynical about this, but after how easy this confirmation went, relatively speaking, and you look at how easy, relatively speaking, 3 of the last 4 Democrat appointments have been women. You had Ruth Bader Ginsburg, then you had Stephen Breyer, but then President Obama appointed both
Kagan and Sotomayor.
Yep. So you almost kind of wonder, with the dirty tricks that some of our friends on the other side of the aisle have tried to pull, you almost wonder if you're President Trump in a next term, or if you're a future Republican president, if they just say,
don't mess around with guys. Yeah.
We're just going to appoint amazing, qualified women from now on.
Just the likelihood that someone can make some claim against a woman, not that it's impossible for women to engage in sexual assault or anything, but it is, I think, rare. I think it's fair to say it's rarer than in men. Maybe that's going to be Donald Trump's tactic from now on. I don't know.
I'm being cynical, and I'm kidding here, but I mean, John, it really does show the fact that they were so grasping at straws to try to find anything to smear her with. And the line that they settled on, I think we talked about before, was they said,
she's going to overturn the Affordable Care Act. That was the main thing.
That's it. Amy Coney Barrett is this stealth candidate who wants to go and take, like the Grinch, she wants to take away your health care before Christmas.
Right. Which is nonsense, and basically the way the Affordable Care Act case is being presented to Congress, it's so unlikely to actually happen as to be laughable.
Yes.
The notion that you're going to get anything close to a majority willing to overturn the Affordable Care Act is nonsense, or at least to take down more than one individuated part of the Affordable Care Act is nonsense.
So, John, I wanted real quick. I know we don't want to go long on today's episode. We're very excited, but what do you see? I mean, I think we had talked on a prior episode about the fact that you and your wife actually have a personal connection to Justice Barrett.
So Justice Barrett was one of my professors at Notre Dame Law School. I took a class from her in my second year. It was in either the fall of 2011 or spring of 2012. I can't actually exactly remember. But she taught evidence. Famously, she taught evidence pretty much every year at Notre Dame. And she would use the movie My Cousin Vinny, clips from that movie to explain various evidence principles. Because it's a really good movie, but it's sort of a courtroom drama and sort of comedy. And it has actually lots of elements that are applicable for teaching real-life law students real-life concepts of law, particularly relating to evidence. So she would always show that. So I didn't know her very well. I was one kid in a class of 40 people. But I say kid; these are adults in law school.
Yes.
She was a great teacher, and everyone. She was really well respected and really well liked, and
she had won Faculty of the Year, I think, 3 years.
2 or 3 different years. Yeah. So and she remained actually on the faculty. So she joined the Notre Dame faculty in 2002, and then remained on the faculty. I think she's still on the faculty, even though she's a Seventh Circuit judge. She continued teaching at Notre Dame Law School,
and I think she will still continue. As I think that.
In some capacity. I'm not exactly sure what's going to happen going forward. Being a Supreme Court justice is kind of a different deal than being a Seventh Circuit judge. If you're a Seventh Circuit judge, you can still keep living in South Bend, whereas I don't think she can. She can have a second home in South Bend, but I don't think she can live there full time. She's going to have to move to D.C.
At least during the season.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. The football season or the...
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, that's the important season.
That's right.
But it's a great thing. I think it's the culmination to get a 6-3 plausibly pro-life majority. And I know there are concerns about Justice Roberts. Roberts has only ruled the wrong way on an abortion case once in his entire time on the court. Unfortunately, it was his most recent abortion ruling, which does not inspire tons of hope. But we may have a 6-3 majority to overturn Roe. And I think one of the interesting things I read, I forget who wrote this. Roberts was the swing deciding fifth vote for the last couple years. And he's now not that. He's not really the center of focus on the court anymore.
He's still the Chief Justice.
But he's not that kind of center of gravity. For a long time, it was Anthony Kennedy. Then when he moved, sort of the center of the court shifted to Roberts, and now he's the center vote. really, in a sense, what Justice Barrett's confirmation does, I think it empowers Brett Kavanaugh more than anyone else. I think he sort of becomes the crucial deciding fifth vote. And if anything, I think what the best thing that Barrett's going to do is possibly draw John Roberts to the right. Because
if he wants to have influence.
Yeah, if he wants to have a say. I mean, one of the other things the Chief Justice can do is that when the Chief Justice is in the majority, he can assign who is the person who writes the majority's decision. And he plays a large, if the Chief Justice is not in the majority, then whoever the next most senior justice is. So what John Roberts has to decide is, okay, here are the 5 conservatives. They all want to do something. Am I going to oppose them and let Clarence Thomas decide who writes the opinion, or let Clarence Thomas just give himself the opinion? Or do I join the majority and then I decide who gets to write the opinion, or I write the opinion myself? So if anything, now that might result in opinions that aren't quite as oomphy as we want.
Yeah.
But there's also this, though, that maybe those 5 justices could say to Roberts, if he's trying to be too weak-kneed about it, well, we don't support your version of this, so you don't get to decide this. So it's a very interesting dynamic how the court works, how this group of 9 people work. Now, let's hope it continues to be 9 people.
Yes.
For the foreseeable future. Obviously, the Democrats are very openly threatening to pack the Supreme Court. Now, Biden is sort of being coy about it and saying, I'm going to establish a bipartisan commission to examine it. And the bipartisan commission will include weak, moderate liberal Republicans and Democrats, probably. And it's just a farce that this man who, has been in the Senate, was in the Senate for 30-something years, was vice president for 8 years, was the chair of the Senate Judiciary Committee and the ranking Democrat on the Senate Judiciary Committee for a total of 16 years, was on this Judiciary Committee his whole time in the Senate, that this man who has given speeches attacking the very notion of packing the court, of increasing the number of justices on the court in order to achieve a certain outcome, the notion that this man needs a 6-month waiting period and a bipartisan commission to tell him what to think about the notion of expanding the court to benefit his party is laughable and shows just how totally unprincipled Biden is.
He sat through hearings for at least 9 Supreme Court justices between the 80s and the early 2000s.
Yeah, just an enormous number. Yeah.
So, I mean, he, if anybody, certainly on his campaign team, no one else is going to be able to give a better, stronger answer on that.
Yeah, well, I mean, which is, of course, evidence that this is a dodge. He doesn't want to say, I'm going to pack the court before the election because it's a wildly unpopular idea. At the same time, he doesn't want to say he's not going to pack the court because it will anger his base who he needs to turn out on election day.
As I said, I haven't written an article about this because I'm not smart enough to do an article, and I'm not actually an attorney. But the phrase that I've used is it's Schrodinger's court.
Mm-hmm. We won't know until we open the box.
That's right.
Yes, we won't know if it's dead or alive until we open the box.
And I will say, John, the one thing that we can hope for, and this is what I don't know. On the one hand, I've heard some people say, well, yeah, the only reason that Biden is saying this is because he absolutely does not want to pack the court. He knows it would be a disaster for him and his party, but he can't risk losing enthusiasm among the left flank, especially if he wants to hold the Senate. So he'll punt for now, and then he'll wait afterwards and not do it. That is my hope. That is my hope is that he is actually doing that because he wants to try to get elected, and he will be more moderate when he wins re-election.
Because if he tries to pack the court, that immediately becomes the signature, most important defining thing of his presidency.
Yeah.
And it's a defining thing of his presidency for something that's very unpopular that would result in basically all of the purple state Democrat senators losing their Senate seats and all of the purple district Democrat members of the House losing their seats. So you'd immediately lose the Congress in 2022.
Yep.
And then your re-election hopes in 2024. Well, let's not kid ourselves. Joe Biden's not running for re-election. We all know that.
I think that's true.
Kamala Harris is going to be running for the presidency in 2024 against AOC. That's the John Gerardi prediction. It'll be Harris on one side, AOC on the other.
I think that AOC first has to win Chuck Schumer's Senate seat in New York.
Oh, I don't think she has to do anything. I don't think she has to do jack. If there's anything politics have taught us over the course of the last since 2008, it's that the kinds of qualifications people think you need to have before you can become president are not actually the qualifications you need to become president.
It's true.
Yeah.
It is going to be a little bit of a wild ride moving forward, but
Yes.
thank goodness that at least for the next 40 years,
Amy Coney Barrett. Will be
Amy
on the
Coney
Supreme
Barrett, and I will post
30. Let's not. Go
okay,
crazy.
30.
Yeah.
I'll post it in the comments. But John, I don't know if you saw the video that I shared with you and Holly and my son Hudson. We were in the store. We were in Costco. And he randomly started saying,
Amy Coney Barrett.
Amy Coney Barrett. And I said, wait, what? And I listened. I'm like, no, he surely didn't say that.
Yeah.
So what did you say, bud? And I caught it on tape. But yes, apparently he has been hearing all of us talk about Amy Coney Barrett enough that
he's just repeating it.
Yeah. And John, I know
raising him right.
It's funny that, she has the same 3 names as Ruth Bader Ginsburg, but
the three initial thing. Yeah.
I really do think that she has the potential to be almost she will never be that influential in pop culture.
No, because she's conservative.
Yeah,
and no one likes it. Yeah.
MTV won't be making movies about her, and she won't be referenced in all these pop songs. But I think among conservatives, I think she has the potential to be maybe the most influential Supreme Court justice in recent American history.
Yeah, I think it might wind up being Scalia than her,
and especially among young people. I know so many young women that I've seen have said they have been inspired by the fact that she's been nominated because they see a different type of feminism in her as opposed to Nancy Pelosi, Hillary Clinton, and Kamala Harris, and AOC.
I don't think it's crazy to predict either that the next Chief Justice of the Supreme Court is going to be a woman, and that woman, I feel like I'm 99% certain to predict this. That woman is going to be either Elena Kagan or Amy Coney Barrett. And it just depends on when Roberts retires or passes away, what president is selecting that next person. I think if Roberts has the ability to retire under a Republican president, he will. Not under Donald Trump, he never will because he hates Donald Trump's guts. But I think if I don't know, if Mike Pence is president someday or Tom Cotton's president someday or Marco Rubio's president someday, he will retire under that president. And Amy Coney Barrett will be the next Chief Justice of the Supreme Court.
John, I would be remiss to end the show because our friend Jim Franklin just messaged. He says, wasn't John's wife a colleague of the justice?
She was. So here's the story. Thank you, Jim, for pointing that out. We hear that Amy Barrett's nominated to the Supreme Court, and I start bragging all over town that I'm a former student of Justice Barrett or Judge Barrett, whatever. And
the legendary humble brag, as
yes,
they say.
Yes, it wasn't very humble. It was just a brag. My wife then points out that when I was a law student at Notre Dame, Holly was like 1 year behind me at school. I started Notre Dame Law School right after my undergrad years at Notre Dame. So during my second and third year of law school, Holly had just graduated from Notre Dame, and she got a job at the Notre Dame Law School, oddly enough. She was an assistant librarian. And so she was technically a member of the staff at Notre Dame Law School. And so as a result, she and Judge Barrett, then just Professor Barrett, were work colleagues. So while I go around saying, well, Judge Barrett was my former professor, Holly's able to say, well, my former colleague, Amy Coney Barrett. So one-upped by my wife.
My workmate.
Yeah. Exactly. So
there you go.
Now Holly admits, the most that I did was send her emails about books. And one of the things Holly can reveal, by the way, about just Judge Barrett or Professor Barrett at that time was that she perpetually had about 200 books checked out to herself at all times.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Just things she needed for reference and just wanted in her office. And
200 books?
Yeah.
Wow.
And a lot of the work of the library staff at the law library was don't bother professors who have overdue books. Just let them renew and just don't bug them. They need it for research. So just let them do their thing. She also had checked out the law library's copy of the DVD of My Cousin Vinny. She had it checked out for so long that eventually the law library just kind of gave up and was like, look, just keep that copy, Amy.
We're gonna buy another
We're
one.
just gonna buy our own. You just keep your copy, okay?
right.
Who cares? Yeah. So yeah, and Holly actually got to other interesting stories. So when I took her class, she was actually pregnant with her youngest child, and it was either, again, I can't remember the exact
2012.
semester. It was either the fall semester of 2011 or the spring semester of 2012. I know it was during my second year. And so she was pregnant with her youngest. And Holly also, at Halloween, the law school faculty, anyone who has kids, would take their kids to the law school in their costumes and have them go around and trick or treat at different professors' offices.
Notre Dame, for those of you who don't know, is a much smaller university than like Fresno State or UCLA.
People think Notre Dame's humongous. It's actually only like 8,000 undergrads, so it's relatively small.
And the law school.
And the law school has 200 kids or something like that. Anyway, 200 students. And so Amy Barrett's kids would come by the law school library, and Holly would give them Halloween, candy and stuff like that. So anyway, so that's our connection to the Barretts. We have other friends who are neighbors of the Barretts and know the Barretts and think the Barretts are normal, very nice, wonderful people. So
super awesome people.
Also, Amy Barrett's husband, also a Notre Dame law school graduate, and also a very successful, highly accomplished lawyer himself. Like he's no slouch. So I think he's fine ego-wise.
Yes.
As far as but some people have sort of alleged that he's like, no, he's actually like a really successful lawyer. Like he was like a federal prosecutor in the Northern District of Indiana, and then he I think now he's in private practice, so he must be
making some decent money,
making buku bucks. So.
Well, and it's just, John, it's very cool for me to think because I just looked it up, by the way. So the enrollment at Notre Dame Law School is 599 students.
Gosh, was it that many? Good Lord.
But that's as of 2019. So maybe it's gone up in the last 2 years. But
probably not.
But still, that's very, relatively small, tight-knit community. Mm-hmm. And the cool thing is that she is now the first justice in a while, I think since Sandra Day O'Connor retired, to not have gone to either Yale or Harvard.
Yeah. Well, Scalia went to Georgetown.
Okay.
Okay, but he was appointed before O'Connor. Well,
no, he was after.
He was after O'Connor. Anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, Judge Barrett is, and she's. I mean, O'Connor. It's not like O'Connor went to Stanford.
Yes.
I think so. It's not like she was going to Oklahoma or something.
Yes.
So that is actually one cool thing about Justice Barrett is that there's going to be maybe some diversity on the court, at least. In that sense, that it's not just people from the same thing. Although Clarence Thomas brings more intellectual diversity to the court than anyone, just because this is the unfortunate thing about Clarence Thomas. He's my favorite justice on the court. The unfortunate thing about Justice Thomas is that his views are so different from a lot of people, even Scalia, on certain big issues, that he winds up sort of being on his own in certain concurrences because he has sort of very different ideas about different aspects. I think he's the most original thinker on the court, basically.
But you could potentially see maybe some two justice concurrences with him and Judge Barrett. She might sign on.
I don't know.
Some.
I feel like Barrett would probably disagree with Thomas in some of the same ways that Scalia does. I think Barrett is basically, in a way, is kind of Scalia reincarnated in a certain sense. That she is basically, while Gorsuch is technically the successor to Scalia, I think Barrett is the
spiritual successor,
the true successor to Scalia.
Yeah.
So, which hey, I'll take that.
Yeah. So. Well, we will have, I'm sure, lots and lots and lots to say about Justice Barrett for a long time to come.
Yeah.
I'm sure, John, we're basking in this moment because I'm sure there will come a time, maybe even this term, where there'll be some decision that she writes, and we'll go, "Oh my gosh, how could she write that type of a decision?" I'm sure there's.
I don't know. I think she's going to be a lot more reliable than certain people.
I
think she
would agree
immediately
with you.
joins. I think the divisions on the court are going to be Thomas Alito Barrett, Gorsuch Kavanaugh Roberts, and then the three liberals. I think that's kind of the way I sort of see it dividing. And I think Barrett's going to be a very reliable conservative vote, sort of in the way that we think of Alito and Thomas. That's my guess.
I sincerely hope you are correct, and I'm excited. Overall, I'm excited. So, folks, bask in this moment. We do not know, obviously, what's going to happen for the election next week. I will tell you, if you would like information about the election, you can go to our voter guide website, CaliforniaFamilyVoter.com, or CA Family Voter, like the letter C, the letter A, CAFamilyVoter.com. You put in your name, you put in your email, and you will have access to our amazing list of all the candidates that our sister organization, California Family Alliance, has vetted and approved. They have looked at records, they have looked at questionnaires, and they have some voting advice. Not from California Family Council. We do not endorse because we are a C3, but the C4, there's some information there at that special website. So,
yeah. California Family
Voter. Yeah,
Voter.com.
CA Family Voter or California Family Voter. I believe either one of those will work.
Okay, cool.
And John, do you want to real quick plug your big show
My
next
election
Tuesday?
night broadcast. Okay, so for any of you in Fresno, I have a Monday through Friday show, the John Gerardi Show, 6 to 7 p.m. every evening on Power Talk 96.7 and AM 1400. And you can get it as a podcast from Apple Podcasts. On election night, I will be on a special 2-hour edition of the John Gerardi Show from 6 to 8 p.m. And then after that, from 8 to 10 p.m., a full Power Talk team will be doing election night coverage, looking at all the returns as they come in. It'll be me, Trevor Carey, Tal, Cloud, and others. So if you want to listen to great election night coverage, maybe you could have one of the news channels on your television, have that on mute, and listen to us on the radio. We'll be smarter, and we'll have all the local races, and in addition to what's going on nationally. So, Power Talk 96.7. If you want to listen to me for 4 straight hours of election night coverage. So,
well, folks,
there we go.
If you would like that, I'm going to be trying to tune in and listen to some of that switching between Twitter and everything else. It's going to be interesting roller coaster, but we will have lots more information. We will try to probably break down the election for you maybe Wednesday next week, maybe Thursday.
It will either be really happy or really sad, I predict. Yep. So we'll see.
So thanks. I'm going to go stand up and turn this off. So you're going to look at John's smiling mug for about 5 seconds.
About 5 seconds.
God bless, and we will follow up soon. Pray before Tuesday and vote. Well,
vote no on Prop 14.
Yes,
we can say that. Yeah, vote no on Prop 14 as much as you can.
And
which is only once.
Lots of other voting recommendations at that site. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks, folks.
Bye. No on